Am I the jerk for refusing to share my bonus with my fiance's family? My name is Jason. I'm 29 and I've always considered myself a generous person, especially when it comes to family and loved ones. However, a recent incident made me question that. Maybe I'm not generous enough. Or perhaps I'm too soft, considering I even let the discussion go this far. I've been working in IT for over 5 years, and last month I received my largest bonus ever for completing a project 2 months ahead of schedule. It was a huge success for the company, and they rewarded us generously. I felt proud, not just of my team but also of myself. This bonus was more than just money to me. It was validation for all the sleepless nights, hard work, and time I poured into the job. I've been dating Kate for 3 years. She's wonderful, smart, caring, and supportive. But her family, let's just say they're unique. Her parents, especially her mother, have always seemed a bit demanding. They have certain expectations for anyone who becomes part of their family. When I told Kate about my bonus, she was genuinely happy for me at first. But a few days later, she brought up an unusual topic. She said her mom thought it would be the right thing to do to set aside part of that money to help her younger brother, Liam. Apparently, Liam just started college and is struggling financially. I was taken aback. I'm not even married to Kate yet, and in my opinion, the money I earn should remain mine. Still, I tried to be tactful. I told Kate that I planned to use the bonus for a much-needed vacation and to save part of it for a down payment on our house. She seemed to understand but was a little distant afterward. The next day, she suggested to discuss it with her parents. I felt uneasy about the idea but thought, okay, let's hear their perspective. Honestly, I hoped this conversation would help me understand why they felt entitled to my money. So there we were sitting at her parents' dining table, Kate, her parents, and me. The food hadn't even been served yet, but the discussion had already started. Her mother got straight to the point. Jason, we're so proud of your accomplishments. It's wonderful that you received such a generous bonus. We all know how hard you've worked. But there are times in life when you have to think about more than just yourself. Here it comes, I thought. She continued, Liam is in a tough spot right now. College is incredibly expensive, and unfortunately, our finances aren't unlimited. We'd deeply appreciate it if you could help him out, even a little. It would be a noble thing to do. I stayed silent. I wanted to argue but looked at Kate, hoping for some sign of support. Her face was unreadable. I realized she probably knew this conversation was going to happen. Her father broke the silence. It's not just about money, Jason. It's about family. When you get married, you become part of our family. And family always supports each other. I felt like I was being interrogated. This wasn't about the money. It was about them trying to make me conform to their family's rules. I understand, I finally said. But with all due respect, this is my money, earned through my hard work. I'm not against helping, but I've planned to use it for important things that involve me and Kate. I thought I struck a balance, but her mother's expression instantly changed. She didn't even try to hide her disappointment. That's very selfish, she said. We thought you were different. I wanted to respond but decided not to escalate things. The dinner continued, but mentally, I was miles away. When we got home, I asked Kate what she thought about the situation. Her response made me even more conflicted. I see their point. You could at least give a little to Liam to show that you want to be part of the family. It's not forever. At that moment, I realized that the conflict between me and Kate might become something bigger than just the two of us. I was trying to process everything that had happened during dinner. The bonus, which symbolized my hard work, had turned into a source of tension. Kate didn't seem to fully understand why I was resisting her family's idea. From my perspective, it wasn't just about the money. It was about principles. From hers? Maybe she saw it as a test of my willingness to become part of her family. The next day at work, I could hardly focus. My colleagues noticed my distraction, but no one dared to ask. I couldn't even find an answer for myself. Where's the line between being generous and letting people take advantage of you? Eventually, I decided to talk to the most objective person I knew, my best friend Alex. Alex and I have been friends for over 10 years. He's the kind of person who always tells it like it is, even if the truth might be unpleasant. We met at a pub that evening, and I laid out the whole story, from the bonus to the conversation with her parents. When I finished, Alex thoughtfully sipped his beer and said, "It sounds like they're testing your limits." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Look, they're trying to see how far you're willing to go for their approval. It's like a test, but it wasn't Kate's idea. It's her mom's." "Are you sure Kate fully agrees with this? Or is she just caught in an awkward position? His words made me think. I remembered how Kate sat at dinner, as if unsure how to react. Maybe she felt stuck between two sides herself. But if that was the case, why hadn't she said anything to me afterward? Alex continued, on the other hand, you've got to ask yourself, if this is happening before the wedding, what's it going to be like after? Are you ready for her family to be this involved in your life? That hit me hard. I'd imagined building a future with Kate, but I hadn't considered that her family could become such an obstacle. When I got home, Kate was sitting on the couch watching TV. I decided it was time to clear the air. Kate, let's talk, I said, turning off the TV. She sighed as if she already knew what I was about to say. I don't want you to think I'm against you, she began. But it's a complicated situation. Liam really needs help, and Mom is just worried about him. She's always been like that, taking care of us. I understand, I replied. But why does it come down to my money? Why can't your family handle it on their own? Or why didn't they ask you to help? Kate looked flustered. Because they see you as my future husband, as part of the family. It's normal, I guess. Normal to ask for money from someone who isn't even married to you yet? Her face darkened. That's not what it's about, she said quietly. They just want to see if you're willing to be part of our family. Those words echoed Alex's thoughts, but coming from Kate, they hit even harder. I realized it might not be about the money at all. It could be about whether I fit into their family dynamic. And that dynamic was nothing like what I considered normal. We both fell silent, lost in our thoughts. But I had to ask the question that had been bothering me all day. Kate, if I didn't have this bonus, would your family still expect something like this? Her silence spoke louder than any answer. After that evening, I felt a rift forming between Kate and me. We started talking less, as if both of us were afraid to touch on the subject, yet the tension between us was almost tangible. I kept wondering if I had done the right thing and how this situation might affect our future. A few days later, Kate brought it up again. It happened during dinner while we were sitting alone at home. She looked anxious, as though she had been preparing for this conversation for a long time. Jason, I know you feel cornered, but I'm stuck between two sides too. It's important to me that you understand my family. This isn't an attempt at manipulation or pressure. It's just the way we do things. We help each other. I listened intently, but inside, I was boiling. On one hand, I understood that family was sacred to her. On the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being tested, as if I had to prove my worth. Kate, I'm not against helping people, but this is my money, and I decide how to spend it. I've already told you I plan to use it for our future, but it seems like that doesn't matter to you. She sighed and set her fork down. It's not about the money, she said. It's more about the fact that you're so unwilling to even consider their perspective. You know how much Liam has ahead of him. Don't you want to show that you're willing to support him, even symbolically? I asked sharply. Do you realize how that sounds? This isn't a symbolic gesture. They're expecting real financial help, and I'm not willing to provide it. It should be my choice, not their expectation. She went silent, and we finished dinner in awkward quiet. The next day, I decided I needed to talk to someone who had likely seen situations like this before. My father. He had always been an example to me of how to set boundaries while remaining a kind person. I called him and briefly explained the problem. After a pause, he said, Jason, when you get married, you do become part of another family. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your principles. Listen to your heart. If you feel this is unfair, maybe they are testing you. The important question is, do they respect you as a person, or are they trying to make you conform to their rules? His words were like a breath of fresh air, but they didn't make the task any easier. I knew I needed to talk to Kate again, but this time I had to be clearer. That evening I sat down next to her and said, Kate, I don't want this to ruin our relationship, but I need you to understand my position. I'm not against your family. I respect them, but they need to understand that they can't dictate how I manage my finances. This isn't about family. It's about respecting my boundaries. She looked at me, bewildered. I just don't know how to explain that to my mom, she admitted. She'll see it as a betrayal. Kate, if she thinks my boundaries are a betrayal, then the problem is deeper than I thought. Our conversation ended there, but the tension lingered. It felt like we were standing on the brink of something bigger, yet neither of us wanted to take the next step. And then a message came through, from her mother. The message from her mother was short but carried a clearly disapproving tone. Jason, I thought you understood what it means to be part of a family. Liam needs help, and your involvement would demonstrate your maturity and responsibility. I hope you reconsider your decision before you ruin your relationship with us and possibly with Kate." I read it several times, unsure how to respond. Part of me was angry. Who was she to say something like that? But it also signaled that the situation had become even more serious. When Kate came home, I showed her the message. Her face turned red. "I didn't know she sent you that," she said quietly. "Kate, this crosses every line. I can tolerate a lot, but I won't let your mother give me ultimatums." She stayed silent. I couldn't tell if she felt shame or anger, but I needed to know where she stood. "Do you agree with this?" I asked. "No," she said after a pause. "But I understand why she feels that way." "That's not an answer. I want to know what you think. Do you support her in this?" She shook her head. "No, I don't support it. But Jason, if you refuse to help, they'll see it as a sign that you don't want to be part of their world." I sighed. I'm not against being part of their world, but I'm not willing to compromise my principles to do it. A family should respect each other, not try to dictate what to do. Kate looked defeated, but didn't continue the conversation. She went to the bedroom, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The next day, I decided to do something I had been putting off for a while. I scheduled a session with a family counselor, not because I wanted to solve the issue about the money, but because I saw how this was starting to tear my relationship with Kate apart. During the session, I explained everything: the bonus, the pressure from her family, and our conflict. The therapist listened carefully and then asked, "Jason, what do you want in this situation? Not for Kate, not for her family, but for yourself." I thought about it. I wanted peace. I wanted respect. I wanted to be accepted for who I was without pressure or manipulation. "I want to not be forced into doing something I don't believe is right," I finally said. "Then you need to communicate that to Kate," the therapist replied. "If you two don't learn to talk to each other about your values and boundaries, this issue will keep coming up." I realized she was right. When I got home, I sat down with Kate immediately. "Listen," I began. "I saw a counselor because I want to figure out how to save our relationship. It's important for me that you know I love you, but I can't deal with the pressure from your family. I'm willing to work on this with you, but I need to know that you want that too." She looked surprised. "I want us to make this work too," she said. "But you have to understand, I feel caught in the middle. My family means a lot to me, and it's hard for me to see them not understanding your perspective." "Then maybe we should go to counseling together," I suggested. She agreed. The following week, we attended our first joint session. It wasn't a magical solution to all our problems, but we started learning how to communicate better with each other and with her family. But her family, they didn't accept my decision. In the end, her mother sent another message, stating that she considered me a poor choice for Kate. And now I find myself wondering, does my refusal to comply with their demands confirm that I'm not right for their family? Could they be correct? Or am I simply staying true to my principles? What do you think? Was I in the right, or did I act selfishly? Write your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe,